So thank you, Arne, for the kind introduction, and thank you, Stefan, and the organizing committee for this invitation and the fantastic organization also. It's my first big web conference, and I think it's a great success, and that we shall keep something even later if we come back to the real conferences, I mean on site, of course. So today, I will show you some example of how designing new material could be useful for the conversion of small molecules. So very rapidly, just for those who don't know, I moved from Versailles to Paris end of 2016 in the center of Paris. And just because Martin Schroeder recently talked about his move and a change of acronym for his samples, so we did the same. And then now the mills are called MIP for Material Institute of Paris. But the thing is that we did not change, for instance, MIL 101 to MIP 101. No, it is only the new numbers, so the one after. So to avoid any confusion. So here it is a typical strategy that we do in my lab and many others that who are specialized in crystallochemistry or MOF or COF. We investigate new chemistry, sometimes just for fun. Sometimes we have in mind some application related to environment, energy, and health. And of course, we functionalize, we optimize synthesis, scale up, shaping, and so on. But sometimes when we try to have, let's say, a focus on some application during the analysis of these material, especially in situ characterization, we discover unforeseen properties, then that pushes us to investigate some application that initially were considered totally not feasible with MOF. And it will be the case today for the first part of my presentation related to DeNOx catalysis. But first of all, I would like to remind you the vast literature that we have reported concerning the design of iron carboxylate MOF. So it was first to discover mesoporous solids such as MIL 100 or MIL 101 with different pore size. It was also to investigate flexible MOF like MIL 53s, MIL 88s. It was, of course, to use functionalization to tune not only the sorption properties of the solid, but also in the case of the flexible MOF to tune their flexible character. Of course, we also investigate, like many others, the use of mixed ligands. Of course, these iron MOF are in most cases biocompatible, and so we studied the drug delivery properties of this solid, but I'm not going to talk about this today. But during the acid, base, and the in situ characterization of this solid carried out by some colleagues in the group of Marco Laturi in Caen, what we studied is the accessibility of the Lewis acid site from this MOF. It was done initially with chromium MOF, but then later, of course, iron can bring other advantages because it can be a redox active metal. So you can see here at the top, the number of accessible metal sites as a function of the activation temperature. And you can see that initially, at lower temperature, you have only iron 3 Lewis acid site. But as soon as you increase the temperature, we were very surprised to see the appearance of additional iron 2 metal site. But the main surprise was not this, it was that this site were not due to a reduction of the iron 3 open metal site into iron 2, but to the creation of additional metal site. And the explanation comes here. On the trimer, you've got 2 water molecules initially, and 1 OH or fluorine group. When you dehydrate, these water molecules go first, and then when higher temperatures are considered, you can even remove this anion, and then this allows the creation of an iron 2 additional metal site. And it is very well known in literature that these iron 2 open metal sites are good for back donation with unsaturated gas molecules, such as NO or olefin, for instance. So it creates additional interaction that makes much stronger the interaction. And here, as a model utilization of this property, so some colleagues from Korea, they investigated the separation of olefin using either the pure iron 3 MOF. In this case, you have a low selectivity, around 5 to 6. But as soon as you have some additional iron 2 site, the selectivity increased drastically. Of course, this is not suitable for real application, but later on, people like Jeff Long, for instance, used some pure MOF 74 iron 2 MOF, and then they showed that they could have some outstanding separation ability of olefin. So these additional iron 2 sites, they bring additional interaction with a large number of unsaturated molecules. Why do we have this? So these are calculations done a few years ago by Korean colleagues. They estimated the binding energy of NO on the iron 3 D5 and on the iron 2 D6. And you can see here that when you have D6, so additional D electron, you increase by almost 50 kilojoules per mole the binding energy of NO on the metal side. So it confirms the origin of this stronger interaction with the iron 2 metal side. So at that time, we are also collaborating with the group of Russell Morris for the controlled delivery of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a biological gas that has many suitable properties, from antibacterial at high concentration to antithrombogenic at small concentration. Antithrombogenic means to protect the cell from aggregation inside the blood vessel. And therefore, in this case, you need a controlled delivery at the biological level, so very low level, around 10 ppb. And so you want to have MOF that absorb a large quantity, but release it very slowly over not only hours, but days. And what they realized when they compare the pure iron 3 MOF compared to the mixed valence iron 2, iron 3 MOF, that the mixed valence with the additional iron 2 allowed to have a much longer release of NO at the biological level. In this case of MIL127, here they could reach even 2 days of release at the biological level. They obtained similar results with other MOF like MIL88 or MIL100. But this slow delivery also was studied by infrared spectroscopy, again by my colleagues in Normandy, in Caen, and what they observed, of course, the signature of the NO at some of the metal side, but not only. They observed other species, NOx species, which meant at that time that the NO was reacting with the surface of the MOF and evidencing some beginning of DeNOx catalysis. As these guys were also experts in DeNOx catalysis based on a long-term experience using zeolite for car companies, they proposed us to investigate the DeNOx properties of this material. So it's a very brief introduction on NOx air quality, but this has been documented by Martin Schroeder and his colleagues, so I will skip that. I just remind you that to have this demanding interaction, you need to overcome an activation energy to transform NO into N2, NO2. And this, it can be achieved only by inorganic solids, such as copper immobilized ZSM5 zeolite. But in this case, you need high temperature and also to add sacrificial agent. So it does not work under environmental conditions. If you look now at enzyme, some of them, like NO reductase, is capable to make some nitrite or NO transformation under life-friendly environment. And the structure of this, the active site, is a dimer of iron with a heme and a non-heme complex. They are close to each other, and you can see here the mechanism that has been proposed for the transformation of NO that includes bond breaking and reforming. And as you see here, this is a trimer for iron MOF, and you can imagine here the similarity with the two consecutive iron 2, iron 3 sites. And so the question was at that time, could these mixed valence MOF be also efficient, but this time not in liquid phase, but under air at room temperature with water. So this material was studied by In situ operando technique. They use a homemade cell reactor, and the detection was ensured by three techniques: mass spec, infrared spectroscopy, and chemiluminescence. So they use the mixed valence iron MOF here, and here is the first result. They use 1000 ppm of NO, 10% oxygen, 1% of water at room temperature. Here you have the feed of NO, and initially you have absorption of NO into the porous solid, so the concentration of NO decreases, and then it reaches a steady state. And you see here there's almost 15% difference between the baseline and the final concentration of NO, and at the same time you've got a little bit of NO2, but importantly you form around 70 ppm of nitrogen. So it means that NO was decomposed selectively, and this reaction was studied for several days, and it stays the same. It was also tested in 3 different labs, in Korea, in Japan, and in France. It was for the first time a kind of breakthrough in heterogeneous catalysis with an heterogeneous reduction of NO into nitrogen at room temperature without any sacrificial agent under air moisture. If you do not have any water, what happens? Here you see that you have formation of NO2, so you oxidize basically NO into NO2. As soon as you start to introduce water, then you have this catalytic transformation of part of the NO into N2, and the concentration of NO2 is much smaller. So it means that oxygen and water are both required for the conversion. What happens if you've got a pure iron 3 MOF? So you activate at 150 degrees Celsius only. Here you can see that you have a little bit of NO2, depending if you have or if you don't have water, but you do not have any evidence of nitrogen. So it means that there's no DeNOx activity if you have a pure iron 3 MOF material. I showed you before that we've got almost 15% of conversion at a certain velocity of 5,000. But if you increase the temperature or the velocity, the yield of conversion decreases, which can be an issue, of course. But here, in reality, NO emitted by cars, for instance, are not alone. It contains a lot of NO2 because it's easy to oxidize NO into NO2. And so here we added a mixture of NO2, 50-50 in percentage, and then we increased by 3 the velocity. And surprisingly, the conversion was multiplied by more than almost 3 factors, which means that NO2 is promoting a lot the catalytic conversion of the NOx into nitrogen. Does it work with any MOF? So we showed the result of mixed valence Miller-100, yes. If we use another MOF, Mi127, that is a macroporous iron tetracarboxylate MOF, it works almost the same. But on the contrary, if you use a narrow pore MOF based on trimer, we have shown that this MOF can also be reduced, but then in this case, the activity is almost negligible, probably because you don't have a sufficient accessibility to for the catalytic reaction inside the pores. And of course, if we use Mi53 that has no metal site and it's pure iron 3, there's no activity at all. This means that the reaction needs this reducible trimer, but a certain pore size to have the reaction. What is the mechanism? So the mechanism is not complete, but you can follow the different species by operando spectroscopy, and you can follow the relative concentration as a function of time. You see that there's an evolution of the concentration, NO into the iron, 2+ that increase, then decrease. Then you have formation of iron and nitrate, and then NO2 and iron, and so on. And you can even see it's noisy, but an increase of concentration of nitrogen in the flux. So this typical evidence of a catalytic consecutive reaction. And this is a putative mechanism proposed by my colleagues. So here in full line, here the arrows in full line are what has been seen by operando, and in dot line what has not been seen yet, but is based on what is known in literature with zeolite, for instance. And so it is involving the 2 iron sites. It's a bit complicated, but then you have the role of the different species. For instance, oxygen here for oxidation of NO into NO2, then formation N2O3 with water, then oxygen is leaving. Then at this point, nitrogen is leaving, and then again with the water and oxygen, the sample is regenerated. Of course, this is not finalized, and recently there were some radio-label operando experiment done by Professor Haneda in Japan. It is very challenging reaction because radio-label NO is very difficult to get, and it confirms the mechanism, but still there probably will be years of understanding to be done to fully control this mechanism. First tentative calculation also has been done by Guillaume Morin and his team in a recent publication in 2020, where they consider only the first step of oxidation. So the iron 2 is seen to be the most active site and not the iron 3, and through the activation of oxygen. And then the second step here, there's a red and a blue path, consider either the formation of NO3 as a chelating species, or the uncoordination of NO2. But of course, this is very difficult to model a configuration of the spin state of a trimer with a lot of electron, a d electron. So there will be probably a strong challenge to have a full picture of the mechanism in the future. However, what they have also tried is just simply to replace one iron 3 by ruthenium 3 species, and they predicted that it could enhance strongly the efficiency of the catalytic reaction. However, from the materials point of view this time, what could we do to tune the catalytic activity? So this is a recent result not targeted initially for DeNOx, but is related to the doping of iron 3 MOF with a small amount of different metals such as nickel, cobalt, or ruthenium. So first example with nickel 2. First of all, you need to know that if you have too much nickel or cobalt into a trivalent base MOF, then the chemical stability at some point will drop. We have seen that if you have 2 to 5%, then it's okay. The chemical stability does not change. But if you have 1 nickel for 2 iron, then the sample is not anymore stable, let's say, for a long time in water. With a 2% to 5% of nickel, we collaboration with a group in Valencia in Spain. They look at the acid catalyzed Prince model reaction. So basically, you have a condensation of pinene and formaldehyde to form nopal. here this is the pure iron 3 MOF, and then this is the dope nickel iron MOF. And you see that you have a very strong increase of the activity. And we tried to understand what was the precise role of nickel. It is not documented for this reaction, and it is not fully understood. So we are lacking of understanding here, but it shows that by just changing a little bit, by doping, we could keep the chemical stability and modify strongly the catalytic activity, and maybe for the Dinox reaction. There's other ways also to tune the, let's say, the redox potential and the Lewis acidity of oxocluster is to change the ligand. So of course you could change the functional group on the ligand to have a donating or accepting group, but also you could, a recent result that we obtained is to have, instead of pure polycarboxylate ligand, to have azolate carboxylate ligand, so pyrazole carboxylate here, and with iron we form this polymorph of MIL-101. And then another example is this recent more hydrophobic macroporous iron MOF. And as we know that the water plays an important role in the Dinox reaction, it will also change the affinity with water and therefore tune the catalytic activity. So as a conclusion for this part, we have shown that reducible iron MOF have strong interaction with NO. And then for the first time that we could demonstrate the possibility to do environmental Dinox reaction through an analogy with the NO reductase enzyme. The mechanism is still to be fully understood, but there's a role of iron 2 that is important. And we see, for the material point of view, a large room of improvement. Of course, it cannot be probably applied for Dinox in cars because of the temperature, but we could imagine many other catalytic processes, for instance, for air quality, to combine capture of VOCs and NO degradation to destroy at ambient condition VOCs. Now we'll just spend a few minutes to show you this time a new crystallochemistry result that we obtained recently. So these are not mature as the iron MOF I've shown before, but that we think could be an excellent platform for, let's say, mobilization of active catalysis. Like the previous presentation has shown the importance of MIL-101, but MIL-101 has some limitations. So we propose some new type of mesoporous solid that could be very useful for catalysis. And we show one model example of exploitation through the reduction of formic acid. So mesoporous, this is a brief reminder of the state of the art. There are two main strategies to construct this solid. So either you use extended ligands and a simple building unit, or otherwise you use simple ligand and then you make secondary building unit. And then you assemble these to construct mesoporous solid. And you play on the isoreticular chemistry to change the pore size. But as in this case, with the iron MOF, for instance, if you take the smallest one, it is hydrothermally stable. But as soon as you increase the pore size and the ligand, then the chemical stability is decreasing drastically. So it means that most mesoporous MOF still suffer from strong limitation. So this is a three representative benchmark MOF, mesoporous MOF material, like NU1000, large ligand, single SBU. So it is very interesting, but it's hardly scalable and it's probably costly. If you use MIL-101, then in this case, the ligand is cheap, it's chromium, so it's not too expensive, it is very robust, it can be tuned by the ligand, but then it is the problem of the chromium with the toxicity and so on. And then I like this last approach. This is a heterometallic construction of mesoporous MOF, and you take copper and zirconium and you form these heterometallic dots structure, and then it can allow you to not only change the pore size, but to change the metals. But I think here there's a problem of stability because the copper and the zirconium have very different stability issues. It means that as a whole, if there are interesting mesoporous MOF that can be probably go to the application, like MIL-100 iron, there's a still need of robust, of course, durable, but also tunable mesoporous MOF. So this is a recent result that is under press. Actually, it's a new zirconium mesoporous solid, so made under subthermal condition, in high yield and formic acid condition, so the structure from single crystal. So it is mesoporous. It's an hexagonal structure, a large channel of 2.6 nanometer. But the interesting feature here is that we use two building units, ZR6 cluster and ZR12 oxo cluster. So it is a homometallic multi-cluster dot. And then the ligand also is very interesting. It is very cheap isophthalic acid that is commercially available, derived from feedstock. And then you can use many different functionalities in this material and to make functionalized material, and then also multivariate material. So it is really an interesting mesoporous zirconium platform. And if you have large pore zirconium MOF, sometimes it's stable chemically, like NU1000, sometimes it's not so stable like UF67. Here we are lucky, it is stable, very stable in acid, high temperature and so on, and also stable to acid gas. 5 cycles of absorption of H2S and SO2. And then you can tune the hydrophobic balance by changing the functional group here, as you can see with the bromo, the non-functionalized, and then the OH functionalized material. Then we decided to test the properties of this solid. Through a discussion with Kyung-Shu in Osaka, they are specialists of heterogeneous catalysis, and they're interested in the reduction of formic acid, which is one of the most promising, safest hydrogen storage carrier. And they use typically inorganic metal nanoparticle, and these need to be immobilized in mesoporous solid in order to control the diffusion and then the particle size, because the palladium nanoparticles are formed usually by using sodium borohydride. So they tested immobilization of the same amount of palladium nanoparticle in our MOF and compare that with benchmark MOF like MIL101 or NU1000 and a mesoporous carbon. And our material behaved the best with the highest activity. And then it was fully cyclable for 5 cycles at least, while in some cases like NU1000 and so on, they have seen some degradation of the MOF. So, but one of the main interests of this type of mesoporous solid is the possibility to change the functional group. So here we decided to make variate of the MOF by introducing either furan dicarboxylic acid or parazole dicarboxylic acid. And parazole is known to bind strongly palladium here. And if you compare the pure MOF with the OH group here, and the particle size distribution of palladium particle, it's above, let's say, 4 to 5 nanometer, which is larger than the pore size of the MOF, which means that the particles are at the outer surface of the MOF or located within defect. But if we use a material that has 33% of substituted parazole dicarboxylic acid, you see that this time the particle size is around 1.5 to 2 nanometer, which is slightly lower than the one of the MOF, which means that probably the palladium nanoparticles are inside the MOF pores and are anchored to the parazole groups. And as a consequence, the catalytic activity, reduction of formic acid, is the highest with the parazole substituted. On the contrary, if you take the furan, the activity is lower than the pure MOF material. So it's a good example of how we can tune the catalytic activity by playing on the ligand functionalization. So as a whole, if I come back to the comparison with the benchmark MOF, I think each of them has its own advantage. And here we bring an additional way by combining 2 different building units with the same MOF. It's particularly interesting in terms of stability because you keep this, the one of the parent, let's say, metal. And then also we have a lot of possibility of functionalization. So of course, we are lacking of other examples to construct similar MOF based on 2 different homometallic building units, but I think others, based on the vast number of building units and ligands available, will probably develop a similar solid in the near future. So I would like to thank my colleagues from IMAP, so Sujing Wang, Antoine Tissot, Farid Noir, colleagues from Versailles, the group of Guillaume Morin, Marco Daturi, and Zhongsan Chong for the modeling, the infrared, and the catalytic reaction. And then I would like to thank you for your attention.